And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome to the show tonight, live from New York, it's Adam Mitzner. See what I did there? With the inside scoop on love, betrayal, murder. Adam, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Thanks so much, Sara. It's really great to be here. Love, Betrayal, Murder is my 10th novel, and I'm very, very excited to let it out into the world. Publication day is tomorrow. It's about an office romance that takes place in a large New York City law firm, and it has love and betrayal and a murder.
Well, Adam, those are three of my favorite things. So I have a lot of questions, and I know everyone has a lot of questions, and I cannot wait to get into it. But first, I just want to welcome everyone. So we are going live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So mystery-loving friends, no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. It is the right time. It is Mystery Monday, and because Mondays can be killer, we're going to make them a little less painful for you. If you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome. We're so happy you're here. Here's the drill. You get to ask Adam anything about his 10 novels, about his latest book, about his writing craft, his practice, his secrets to success. We are going to get into it all. So I am going to kick off with a few questions that have been percolating in my brain. So Adam, this book takes place in the world of big city big law in the city. And you work in a big law in the city, and your wife works in law. Now, is this a murder mystery or is this a memoir?
Well, my wife is very much alive.
Okay, good. Knock on
So
wood.
that is good. I will say that I did meet my wife while we were both working in a law firm. So there is some that I know about office romances. And it is based in part on my experience at different law firms and seeing how different law firms deal with issues of office romance, but also how I wanted to write something that was an office romance that wasn't your sort of typical, senior male partner, junior female associate who kind of story. And so this is a much more balanced, I think, portrayal of what can happen in a big firm when people, at least at the outset, are acting with the best of intentions.
Why did you want to write a book that incorporates the element of workplace romance? What was the attraction to that?
Well, so first, the issue for me, what I wanted to write about was about the limits of truth as a big picture concept. And one of the things that I find so fascinating about my own legal practice and also about the stories that I write is, when do people tell the truth? When is it justified not to tell the truth? And how punished should you get for lying? And so that was the thinking behind what the story would be about. And I think a relationship that's against the rules, but yet a lot of people find it somewhat of a victimless crime until there is a problem, was a good setting for, all right, these are people who are, lying, right? Because you have to lie to your bosses and to your clients if you're engaged in this kind of relationship. But is it the worst sin in the world? And what if it becomes a greater sin? So that was the general setup.
Ooh, did you reach any conclusions in either your planning or execution of this book, or did your perspective shift at all as you wrote it?
I think that it's ever evolving for me. I believe that I have, a core set of values for myself and what I consider to be acceptable moral behavior and what I would say, no, that crosses the line. It surprises me a lot when readers will tell me, oh, I didn't like that, or I didn't think that that person should do that, when it's pretty in keeping with what I would think, I would do that. Like, that to me is justified. And I'm not going so far as murder, but, as a general framework, it always surprises me um, when people are surprised that people will lie under oath, for example, right?
Ooh.
And as somebody who's represented, I think, a lot of people who've lied under oath, and in general, this idea about would you lie to protect people you love, and I think that there are limits, perhaps, but that's always been in the forefront of my mind, is what kinds of lies are permitted.
I mean, I will admit that I'm surprised that people lie under oath because I would feel I mean, I just couldn't do it. I would feel sick to my stomach if I did. So I guess I'm one of those compulsively honest nerdy do-gooders who is surprised. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'd like to say that I've never lied under oath, nor have I ever condoned a client lying under oath. So I think it's a different kind of person. But the part that's important for me, in the writing at least, is anyone who does anything wrong, most of the time, or at least my characters, I like to think, justify their conduct as in pursuit of a greater good. And so, in that regard, people will lie under oath, but is it to protect somebody else? And do they feel like they're justified? Is it because, they're wrongly accused of a crime, and so they lie about where they were at the time of the crime because
Mm.
they don't want to be convicted? And are these lies acceptable in pursuit of a greater good, or they're always lies?
Ooh, oh, Adam, I got a lot of questions. Okay, first of all, we have Renee joining the conversation live from Southeast Florida. She says, "Hi, Adam. Hi, Renee. So great to have you here." And she has some questions for you. First of all, she wants to know, Adam, is no disclosure a non-truth, or a lie?
I'm sorry. What?
She said, "Is no disclosure a non-truth or a lie?" So if you're not disclosing something, is that a non-truth or a lie? And I'm wondering also, is there a difference? Your thoughts?
I think it's a lie. I think that I think it's a lie. To me, the line between lie and not lie is intent. And if somebody says to me, tell me something that is important to me, and I leave something out knowing that they want to know that, I think it's a lie. That being said, I think there are times when you have a caveat emptor situation where you're not required to disclose unless asked. I don't think that applies to personal relationships or any kind of relationship of trust, but I can certainly understand when you're selling your car that you may not have to say, these are the problems with my car to the buyer. When you're telling your wife where you were last night, yeah, I think leaving something out that is you figure is going to be important is a lie. But that's me.
Interesting. I'm also interested to hear, Renee, thank you for the great question. And Renee actually has a two-part question, so I want to get to the rest of that. But I want to pause, and because I'm interested by what you said, that you think the line between truth and lies is intent. So it's for you, it's not about the outcome of whether a lie was spoken. It's about the intent behind what was spoken. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you make a mistake, it's not a lie, right? And in some ways, you can still be conveying the wrong information, but you're not trying to deceive somebody, and so it's not a lie. If you are trying to deceive someone, then I think it's a lie, whether you do it by words or by omission.
Okay, I am noodling on this. Um, Here's a juicy question also from Renee. Adam, would you lie to protect your wife and family?
Yeah. I mean, I can say that without, I joke with my kids sometimes because like all kids, they don't tell me everything. I always say to them, I don't understand why you don't tell me everything, because nobody in your life is going to be as forgiving as your parent, right? Like everyone else you meet in your life, your friends, your spouse, you could tell them things that they would say, well, I really got to disown you on that one. But your parent, like from parent and child, I do not think it's ever going to come to this, but like I always think of those situations where somebody says, something awful has happened, and you show up with the proverbial shovel saying, I'll do whatever it takes to it's okay. Uh,
Right.
there's this great line in this Ben Affleck movie. I think it's called The Town, where he goes to his brother, I think it is, and he says, I need you to do something for me. I can't tell you what it is. We're going to hurt a lot of people, and then we're never going to talk about it again. And the other guy says, well, whose car are we taking? And
Exactly.
that's the relationship you have with certain people. And yeah, I think you would lie to protect them. At least I don't know if it makes me a bad person, but yeah, I probably would.
I actually lip synced to that quote for to celebrate Women's History Month on March 1st. And I said, this is the precise level of loyalty that I both give and am seeking in my friendships. Who's in?
There you go. And I think that's right. And I think that as a result, like you expect people, um, it's one of those funny things because I don't do too much criminal law, but when I did, you'd see people who, terrible things have happened, and they would tell you about how their friends had deserted them and things like that.
Mm,
And it makes you sometimes wonder, like, would I desert my friends and my family if they were convicted of a crime? And I suppose
mm.
it depends on what they did. But, again, right, like, I think it's a complicated issue and complicated further by your relationship with the person and your level of trust with them. And those are many of the issues I find most interesting to write about.
Getting into that gray, that messy gray middle
Exactly.
ground, especially interesting with you as a lawyer, Adam. Renee is saying she agrees. Very interesting fodder for conversation. Renee, thank you for the great question. Y'all, I want to get into some of the praise that this book has earned. So, first of all, Adam, let me ask you, what do you want people to walk away from your book having felt, having learned, have it, marinating on? What do you want people to leave this book with?
So, to me, I've really done my job as a writer. If a couple of, I won't say all these things because that may be too much, but if at least one of these things happens, one, you're thinking about it after you've closed the last page and you're saying, is that what I would have done? Can I justify what that person did? Um, one. Two, I do not think that most readers are going to figure out the final twist. And I would like them to say, yeah, I didn't see that, but I should have. And that is a really, sometimes I feel like people figure it out and they say, I figured it out, but I still love the book. And that's okay too. This is one of those books where I think that probably won't happen, that they
Ooh,
won't figure it out. And I want them to say, oh, yeah, but I should have. And then beyond that, I
ooh,
think
yeah.
that because I'm a lawyer and because there's a lot of legal scenes, that you get an appreciation for the law in a non-law and order kind of way, that you see it in a much more realistic fashion than is often portrayed on television or in the movies.
Ooh. Okay. So first of all, Adam doesn't think people will see that final twist coming. So is it just me, or I smell a challenge? challenge. Who is in for this challenge? Adam has cast the gauntlet, y'all. Because let me tell you something. I got an audience that knows thrillers. I'm getting all these hearts and laughing faces on Facebook. I got an amazing audience of thriller fans, y'all. Adam has cast the gauntlet. Who is going to accept that challenge? And then we're going to tag Adam. Yes, I figured it out. No, I didn't. We have a mystery user who says, yes, they are in. Because let me tell you, my people know what they're doing. They read thrillers day in, day out. And so I am curious. All right. I am curious.
Well,
Y'all,
I'll go better, Sarah.
Tell us.
Put my email in the acknowledgments. So you can, when you finish the book, you flip one more page to the acknowledgments and my email will be there, and you can send me an email and tell me if you figured it out or not.
Whoa. Okay. Renee is raising her hand. She is in for the challenge. We have 2 people who are in so far. So guys, Adam has put his email in the acknowledgments. So if you figure it out, or if you don't, email him and let him know, because I am curious. And then you guys, you have to DM me. So over in Mystery and Thriller Mavens, which is where all the good tea is spilled, free and open to all. It is my Facebook group for all of us mystery and thriller lovers. Here it is. Click over, join if you're not already a member. That is one of the destinations we are broadcasting to. And then I'm going to start a poll as to who figures it out and who hasn't. And we'll see just how many people Adam has fooled and just how many people are not your average reader. I'm very curious. I love nothing more than a challenge. Adam, this is actually a perfect lead in, because I want to talk to you about your craft. I want to get down into the meat of it. So when you're saying, and without revealing anything, because we hate spoilers here, but what is your practice when it comes to craft? Speaking of that crazy final twist, did you always know it from before you started reading? Are you a plotter, a meticulous plotter, or did it come to you like a bolt of lightning as you went? Are you a pantser? Tell us all the things, but no spoilers.
Yes, I wish I was a plotter, but I am not. I am very much a pantser. Sometimes I'll be, 3/4 of the book finished and won't have an ending. And my wife, who I discussed the book with her like they're people I know, which of course they are, the characters, will sometimes say, well, you might not have this problem if you thought about the ending first, right? And I'll always say, well, that is very helpful at this point in the process, but I can't write that way. And so to me, what I first start thinking about are the characters. And then I might have some vague understanding of what's going to happen that's going to propel the story forward. And that's it. And then I start writing. And I view the chapters the way I do as a reader. I'll finish a chapter and I'll say, I wonder what's going to happen next. And then I'll write that. And so, truthfully, the biggest fear that I have is when I reach that 220 page point when I say, all right, I got to start pulling stuff together. And this panic of, well, maybe I won't know how, and I won't be able to figure out the ending, grips me. And I've been lucky because I've always been able to find the ending. And, sometimes I find the ending a little bit sooner than others. And sometimes I have to put it aside for a little bit and, hope that it hits me. But in this one, I can't say that it came to me right away. I had a different ending at one point, and it became this ending, which I was very happy with.
Wow. So this crazy twist came to you when you were 3/4 of the way through. You actually had another ending in mind.
Yeah. And I have
Wow.
to say too, I'm not like an Agatha Christie person where I feel like you have to be tricked by the ending or it's unsatisfying. And I don't, several of my books, I think they all have somewhat of a twist at the end, but some of them I know that are more foreshadowed than others. And for a variety of reasons, mystery readers are very sophisticated and they go through the analysis of, well, this person's too obvious and this person, blah, blah, blah. And you can figure it out almost by process of elimination rather than through the story. And I'm not at all upset when people say, I saw the ending coming and I still love the book. That's okay with me. And so I probably would not have made this challenge on many of my other books because I would have said, no, you probably can see it coming. But this one I think is a little bit more um, surprising, let's just say.
Well, we're getting all sorts of hearts and surprised faces flowing on Facebook. Thank you all. We have a mystery user, a mystery guest who would like to know, Adam, so you let the characters, and then this person later corrected themselves, propel the story instead of yourself, which is fun. Is it fun, Adam?
It is. It is. I mean, I think that partly the characters, it's this inhabiting somebody's worldview that isn't your own necessarily, but obviously it's colored by your own. And so, um, I was yesterday at our Mother's Day brunch, as one might do, I was talking to my family about the thinking that I'm having about the book that comes after. And, you know, people are around listening, and I'm saying things like, well, if I killed my wife, would I then do XYZ or not? And everyone else is saying, no, I think after you killed her, you do that, right? And then someone else is like, no, I don't think that's what you do after you kill somebody. So it's partly what would this person do well enough to be able to complete their conduct. And when it works really well, you're able to say, yeah, this is the only thing this person could have done.
I like the idea of I'm so happy to get the inside scoop on your cheery Mother's Day table conversation, which was murder. I love that. Okay, so let's talk a little more about this. So when you're just letting the story evolve, you're not plotting, you're seeing where it goes. Renee wants to know, and I think it's a great question. Do the characters speak to you? Do you actually hear them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too, voices in my head ish about it, but yeah, I think that, you're thinking about all the characters. And one of the things that I think I've gotten better at as I've written more is sometimes I'll read the book through one character's eyes and then I'll read it again through somebody else's. So with an idea toward how are they going to, move the book forward? What is this character who may not be the main character, but what does this person want out of the story? And so yeah, they tell me, this is what they want.
Mm.
And it does propel the story forward because how are they going to get there?
Mm. Interesting. I like the idea. So you read it multiple times with different lenses and mindsets.
Yeah, because I sometimes think that it's too easy to always be thinking about the protagonist. And as a result, you can let some of the other characters just act in a way that propels the protagonist. And then it doesn't ring as true because they may not want to propel the protagonist. You know, if you think of them as real people, they think they're the protagonist, right? Like everybody thinks they're the protagonist of their own story. And so, what is their story about? And is it the same, whatever their story is? Like, I always like to think if you took this book and you told the story through another point of view, they should still be doing the same stuff they're doing in your book, right? Because they're still people living their lives. And so if they're only doing something because you really need them to do that, well, then it doesn't really work. And I think readers can tell that.
It's so interesting, Adam, because my next book I took on the challenge, the foolish, idiotic challenge of writing through 4 POVs. I made my life 4 times harder. Poor jerk. And one thing that I struggled with is exactly what you said, which is making the protagonists life or argument easier. So when I was writing arguments or heated scenes, I was writing it from, that character's perspective. And then I realized, like, this isn't how an argument would flow, between, for instance, me and my husband, because he doesn't agree with me because he's wrong, So I went back and I did exactly what you said. I rewrote it from first all of her dialogue and then all of his dialogue, as though I was really believing that person's POV. And I felt like that really helped it.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, is to have it feel like they're real people making real decisions.
Yes. Yes. And that is hard because they're not real until you make them real.
That is.
Renee, great question. Adam's book comes out tomorrow. And he is here giving us this exclusive pre-launch scoop and taking all of our questions live. So it is out tomorrow. Love, Betrayal, Murder. And here is that link to pre-order tonight, y'all, so that Murder and the good folks at Murder by the Book will send it out tomorrow, and then you can participate in Adam's challenge of, will you figure out the twist or not? So here is that link. No matter where you're watching from on Facebook and YouTube, click and order it, my friends. Support our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. Oh, Renee says, Sara, do you have a title for your next book? Yes, ma'am, I do. It is Broadway Butterfly, a thriller. And it is out August 1st. Yay. Okay, Adam, let's talk about a little more about some of these reviews. So first of all, Angie Kim, the international best-selling and Edgar Award-winning author of Miracle Creek, had some wonderful words of praise to share. I'm going to pop that up. She says, Adam Mitzner has done it again, given us another amazing legal thriller that immediately hooks you in and keeps you turning the pages late into the night, filled with thrilling courtroom scenes, fascinating insights into the gender politics of big law firms, and shocking twists. Love, Betrayal, Murder is a blistering read you won't be able to put down. So first of all, I just want to pause on the first part of this, because thrilling courtroom scenes. What I learned through writing my own book, reading court transcripts, is that courtroom scenes are very rarely thrilling because people don't speak in full sentences. There's a lot of interruptions, objections, clarifications. It is brutal to read those transcripts. Nobody wants to read those. They're the opposite of thrilling. So everyone's laughing with me on Facebook. So Adam, clearly your scenes are the opposite of that. They are quite thrilling. So what is the secret, as a lawyer and as a 10-book seasoned novelist? What's the secret to writing both thrilling courtroom scenes, as Angie Kim said, as well as something that, quote, hooks you in and keeps you turning the pages late into the night, exactly as she said?
So I think that there's a real balance that you have to go through between what you see in the courtroom and what's also going on in the courtroom. Because I think that what bogs down real trials is there's a lot of repetition, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't really matter, and it can be kind of boring. And you don't want that, obviously, in a book. And at the same time, it's kind of important to me to try to portray the trial as exhausting, because trials are exhausting for the lawyers, for the judge, for the jury, and most of all for the people involved. And so, you want to have the dialogue to be good, but it isn't like Perry Mason. It isn't, the lawyer is not going to say something and cause the witness to break down and confess. That just doesn't happen. What's more interesting to me is kind of the chess aspects of trial. And, sometimes a client will tell me in my real practice, this happened. And I'll say, that's great. How am I going to get that into evidence? And that kind of makes it more interesting. How are you going to get into evidence? What if it's blocked from getting into evidence? And so I think sometimes the things that lawyers know that maybe people who are not lawyers don't is you'll see things about what was really going on here that created the decisions that the lawyers are making or the client is making. And so, to me, one of the best parts of this book are those issues. What are the decisions the lawyers are making um, that propel the case forward?
Ooh, I love that. I love that. That's a really interesting and different way to think about the aspects of and interactions of a courtroom. Thank you, Adam, from a man who knows a thing or two about being in a courtroom. Y'all, I want to remind you this book is not even out yet. Adam is coming on tonight, the night before his book comes out, to give us the inside scoop and to take all of our questions live. So here again is that link to pre-order tonight, y'all. So that you can take part in the Adam Did I See the Twist Coming challenge. So here again is that link. Pre-order it so that you can take part in that. I want to see who can do it. Y'all, we are out of time. Time flies when you're having fun. Thank you so much for joining me, Adam. And thank you to all of you mystery and thriller lovers. Love, Betrayal, Murder is out tomorrow. Oh, we have one more question. Adam, how often are you in the courtroom? Great question.
I'm actually in a courtroom in front of a judge maybe once a month, but in terms of an actual trial, that can be maybe once a year. Sometimes I can go 2 years before I'm actually trying a case. But
That's a lot.
yeah, but there's always, like, I was taking testimony last week, 2 days, where and apropos of what you said before, Sara, my client said, "How long this is going to last?" And I said, "7 hours." And they said, "How could it possibly last 7 hours?" And I said, "Every single witness says that, and they always do." And you'll see, because they'll ask you the same thing a million times, and you would not find reading that transcript remotely interesting.
Yeah. Oh, this is fascinating. Barbara, thank you for joining us, saying looking forward to reading it. Renee says she's looking forward to reading it. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Renee, for joining us. Thank you all. What a pleasure to get this inside scoop on love, betrayal, murder, and all things legal, courtrooms, trials, and more from a legal expert himself, Adam, and author of 10 books, Adam Mitzner. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Happy early pub day, and please come back when your next book is out. This has been a fascinating conversation.
It's a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Sara.
Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back at the top of the hour with USA Today bestselling author Isabella Maldonado, former police chief in real life and FBI, handpicked to go to the FBI with her latest book. You're not going to want to miss this. Stay tuned.